the click, got it. I guess I don't have to. Do I have to? Okay. All right. Well, we are recording. All right. We have gathered here today to dive deep into the organizational model, one of the ugly redheaded stepchildren of the 4 business models of MREA. In my experience, it is the one that people spend the least amount of time on. And a lot of the high Ds that get to the point where they're a rainmaker of a team are like, org chart, give me a napkin. Well, there's me, them, and blah, and they throw it away. We're going to
All right, Bridget, stop talking about me.
That's right. We're going to dive deep today on how this, if you just stop yourself and take some time to tap into the side of your brain that's slightly more creative and based in leadership, you can actually use the organizational model to transform your business. And I'm not being overly dramatic. People that have taken this on in a big way, they show up as a different kind of leader. They tend to have higher retention, and they also tend to have higher per agent productivity as they grow their team, regardless of where you want to grow your team to. Many of you know one of my subspecialties, in addition to luxury, is smaller size teams with high per agent productivity, selling a lot of houses. So whenever we're having this conversation today, please keep in mind, this applies to everyone. It does not just apply to the Moats team with 18 agents and a huge staff. It applies to everyone that wants to, have a better business, more profitability, higher retention, and actually have talent and enjoy their job. So let's throw that in there too. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. We're going to jump in. Now, for the purpose of these business models, because I do have a client that is shooting for 1,000 sales next year. So I thought it would be very fun to have these conversations in the context of what does it take to sell 1,000 homes. Now, I'm doing this for the purpose of the illustration. Of course, I hope that all of you have a notepad handy, a pen handy, and you sketch out for yourself either now or after the call. But how fun for all of us to think so big that we're thinking about 1,000 sales. Of course, I do coach a lot of luxury clients. Yes, I'm including you. What if you had 1,000 luxury sales through an expansion team? All right. If you aren't excited about the 1,000 sales and you are one of my higher end luxury clients, then factor it in, A, for the number of sales you'd like to have, or factor it in for a gross sales volume, or the target that gets you jazzed up and excited, and apply it to how that would show up in the organizational model. So Nina posted a question in chat about, will this be available? Yes, I am actually putting a link to the slides right in the chat, trusting that you guys are still going to pay attention and not just whip through it and then jump off the call. So it's there. If you're watching this video, the link to these slides is in the description box below. All right, so let me go back to share and let's dive in. Woohoo! All right, organizational model. So it is an MREA, pages 159 through 171. So if it has been a minute since you've read MREA, or if you've never actually read it all the way through, I know you're out there, it's okay. Grab it, read pages or reread pages 159 to 171. And that is going to give you even more nuances than what we're going to describe and go through today. Key elements, and we're going to break these down in detail, is you want to hire talent. Hire talent. Please hire talent. Remember the cost of a bad hire. It is incredibly expensive. When you do the typical agent thing, which is, oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmed, I need someone needs to help me, oh my goodness, and you just hire someone that passes a fog test, then you expect too much of them too soon, you keep them around anyway, you lower your expectations, they continue to underperform, but then you know them and like them because a lot of us have I in us. And then you've got this underperforming person. Yeah, but they've been with me for a year and a half. The cost of that is immense. We are not going to totally break down the cost of the bad hire today because a lot of the organizational model trainings focus on that so much that you don't cover everything else. That is something we can do in a separate call, or we can discuss on your coaching call if you have questions about that. And you want to empower people. So those are kind of key elements. And I just feel like diving in, so we're diving straight in. So rules of thumb around your organizational chart. If you've heard Gary Keller talk at all, you know that he'll say your first hire is a coach. So you want to, and nearly all of you already have a coach. So part of that is, let me help you in these decisions and be open and willing to hear what I'm going to share with you. That's a part number 2. So, remember, not just me, any coach that is right beside you, wanting nothing but your success, sometimes on occasion believing in you more than you believe in yourself, if they're sharing information about the hiring process or things and perspectives for you to consider while you're hiring, please listen and absorb it. They're not ever going to tell you, hire that person, fire that person, blah, 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 do this and that. They're going to share perspectives and things for you to look at to hopefully prevent the bad hire or hiring someone who's not talent. We're going to go into that more as we go through the slides. But first hire off the bat as a coach. Many of you have heard Gary's story about when he had grown Keller Williams to a certain point and he knew that he just wasn't able to take it the next step further. That is when he had already had a real estate sales coach. That's when he hired an additional coach for huge business development, which ultimately, of course, led to him hiring Mo Anderson. The rest is history, right? So, but that he has shared that story. If you haven't heard that story, let me know and I'll look for a video of it because it's pretty compelling. Second hire. If I had left this blank and had you all guess, I guarantee you a lot of people would put buyer's agent. No. Second hire is executive administrator. It could possibly be, depending on the size of your business, an executive administrator that will do all the jobs of an EA, which usually involve scheduling, communication management, marketing, calendars, projections for the year out, database management, database growth, and relationship building in terms of client experience, and some concierge level care for clients. They may also do your transaction coordinating in the beginning. I will tell you, if you're in growth mode, you don't want your executive administrator being your TC for very long at all, because it is urgent and priority. Every morning are all the transactions. And so then all your hopes and dreams keep getting delayed, postponed. Oh no, they're not added to the database yet. Oh no, I didn't do that social media post. Oh, we didn't get the newsletter out. Oops, that mailing didn't go. Because they have no choice but to focus on the transactions, because if they don't focus on the transactions, everyone's in trouble. So we can talk about that more on your coaching call if you're in that situation. Ideally, you want to get to that next hire as quickly as possible so that your EA can stay in that big picture support role and not just be siphoned off into being obsessed with TC work and your business doesn't grow. Your fourth hire, so, MREA calls it a leads manager. Sometimes it's called a database manager. Sometimes it's called an inbound sales agent. Really, and some people even call it a client concierge, but essentially that is going to be someone in addition to your executive administrator that will be, say, implementing the 42 touch campaign, notifying you of people in your database that had major life events happen recently so that you can acknowledge that and be a part of it. Someone that would oversee and manage your home anniversary program, or different elements of your 42 touch. In addition, they would be that first voice people hear when a call comes in or a lead comes in, and they would be absolutely trained on how to capture the most vital information and set appointments on your behalf as rainmaker of the team. One of the benefits of having that leads manager in place is that you're no longer the receptionist. That's a whole nother call we could do. But I look at some of you guys, and it's you're putting yourself in the receptionist place when you are the founder and owner of a multi-million-dollar sales corporation. And this is going to elevate everything where you have that concierge in place where there will very often be a live person answering the phone during business hours and starting that level of customer care you want from first contact. And we'll have a higher conversion rate and higher capture rate from inbound business. Okay. And a lot of people get confused around that. Let me just answer a couple of frequently asked questions right now while we're in here. Yes, when you've got a great TC, there are times when your EA and your leads manager can remain the same role. Typically, that means you would have a marketing manager or a social media manager like Aaron that is taking care of that part. But when someone is trying to spin all those plates, it's rarely going to be satisfying. So that's something we can discuss further in your individual coaching calls, and we can customize it based on where you are right now and where you want to go. So after that staff's in place, then you would leverage buyers. And after you leverage buyers, then you would leverage sellers. And notice, leveraging sellers is the absolute last thing. Many of you have already heard me talk about that. It's heartbreaking sometimes when we see agents that leverage sellers too soon in the process, and they end up losing the reins. It goes out of control. Customer service goes down. You end up losing talent, and it can be absolute devastation for a team. If you guys look around, it might not be right in your market center, but usually in your area, you've probably seen a team that was doing incredibly well. And then there's like a mass exodus and oops, they don't have any listing. Like you see a lot of chaos with a team that appeared to be functioning at a high level. Many times it's in that delicate transfer of the rainmaker leveraging sellers, and things go pear-shaped during that transition. Not always, but that's a common cause from a very large functioning team. If you see them implode, many times it's around that particular area. So I want to jump to one other question that I get all the time, and resistance that I get very frequently. Some wrinkles on my face are probably from this conversation. So agents will say, well, I'm bringing on this fill in the blank, brand new agent that sold 3 houses, agent that's been in the business 5 months, but they're really connected and they really want to do listings and they really want, and they're so social and I get all the stuff. This is straight from Gary Keller's mouth, and this was in a small group in November of 2019 with most of the coaches in a room with him. And he absolutely, to this day, believes in the power of the specialist model. It provides clarity, it provides boundaries, it is a clear flow chart of who handles what. It also gives agents something to work towards rather than having everything in front of them all at once. So I want to stay here for just a minute, because I understand the rainmaker's thought is, well, they're really great and I don't want to hold them back, and I want them to do listings and buyers. And this is someone who barely knows how to fill out an offer, or they've clearly failed, over like 8 months, and now they're joining a team so they can be successful. And you're thinking you're being nice. You're not being nice. You're denying them a career path. You are denying them a structure of First, you're going to master working with buyers. You're going to dominate that system. We're going to set benchmarks for conversion rates from buyer consultations to agency signed. We are going to set goals for you of when you meet with 10 buyers, how many contracts are written, how many of those get accepted, and then how many deals come from that. You're going to master the nuances of how to show properties, how to uncover people that maybe telling you their price range is one thing, but it's actually 300,000 more. And they're not going to tell you until they missed out on a house of their dreams because you didn't have that information. You're going to allow them to actually master something that is hard. It's not as easy as it looks on TV, people, right? So we're going to give them a career path. You're giving them a gift. You are not holding them back. In addition, you're going to pay them 25%. I even have some teams that pay 30% of a referral fee for every listing appointment and listing lead that they bring to the team. That will become, by the way, their absolute highest per hour income of anything they do in real estate, especially some of you with luxury teams. So if they refer a listing to you and it's a listing for 3.1 and they get 25%, for giving you the name and number and maybe having one conversation, that absolutely becomes their highest income earning potential. So anyone who says like, this is being mean or I'm holding them back, please have a conversation with me. I am going to highly recommend you look at it from a different perspective. So a lot of my teams that have the specialist model, they lay out the career path. You're going to start as a buyer's agent, and they share the benefits of that. They say, when you've mastered that in 18 months to 2 years, then you can decide if you would like to become a listing specialist. A couple of my teams have done 3 years. I recommend 3. We'll get into that later. Then you can apply for a promotion to become a listing specialist. And when that happens, you'll go through another 90-day training program specifically around becoming a listing specialist. During that time, you're going to close out the buyers you have under contract. You'll start doing the activities of a listing specialist. And by the way, when you become the listing specialist, it will flip-flop. You will then hand your buyer leads to the buyer agents on the team because that's their specialty, and you are only going to do listings. This is the most profitable. It gives you the most ability to keep control over client experience. It leads to the best reviews and longevity and retention within the team. I know I coach some of you that are already level 7 and you already have hybrid agents. That's a different conversation. So if you're at level 6-2, even some level 6, depending on structure, or a level 7, yes, you might have hybrids. You might still have specialists, but I know most of the people watching this are still in levels, 2 through 5. And it's really critical in this area, to really reflect on this and play around with it. So possible unintended side effect. When a rainmaker thinks that other people are also going after listings, their subconscious can take their foot off the lead generation pedal, and then your listing division suffers. So that ties in with when you leverage listings too soon in the process. And please hear me, if you're on this call right now or you're listening to it, I'm not saying for you to go like, nothing rash. We never do anything rash. So you're not going to go like, oh no, I didn't set it up that way. Clear the slate. Everyone go and start from scratch. None of that. I'm just saying, let's take the time to look from here forward, maximize what you currently have, and let's plan for the future, giving people the opportunity for success and a career path. So any questions on that in particular? All right, we're moving ahead. I think there are questions and no one wants to ask right now, but we're going to move ahead anyway. All right, so we're going to go through 7 levels of MREA. This is a combination of what is in the current printed book as well as information that has been shared with coaches from MREA2, which is still in the works. So this is pretty current, and obviously we can customize to you as needed, especially in luxury. Listing coordinators tend to be more of a significant role with luxury than with just a traditional team. But we're going to go over the basics right now. So the very first level, we all hear the levels. First level, it's you and your coach, and that is your personal productivity, and you are selling as much as you're able to sell. I encourage you, of course, to focus on listings with your weekly activities and make sure you're going on at least one listing appointment per week to really get that business solid and off the ground. Level 2, hiring and succeeding through others. So then it's going to be you and your coach and an administrator. Just remember, if you fall into the agent trap of hiring a buyer's agent before you have an admin, you essentially have now made yourself the admin. If you don't have an admin, you are the admin. If you don't have a housekeeper, you are the housekeeper, right? So, and that sounds like I'm just being cute. We know that if you're not spending 80% of your time in income producing activity, building relationships, going on appointments, lead generating, lead follow-up, presenting offers, and practicing your skills, you're not going to have growth. You might sell the same number of houses every year, but you're not going to have growth. It's plain and simple. So it's not just a funny joke. It's serious. Now, by the way, yes, there's times where you hire an admin first, then you hire agents, and then the admin leaves. That's why the third step is critical. Third step, leadership and systems. So you're laying the foundation for growth. It'll be you and your coach, then an admin and the TC, as we discussed earlier. So can a TC do everything an admin can do? No. Can an admin usually do what a TC does? Yes. So you still may find yourself in a kerfuffle if your EA leaves and you're already level 4 with buyer's agents. However, with that TC in place, it's not like the train's going to run off the tracks. And then we would hopefully at that point have a bench of talent and candidates rolling all the time so that you can get into action on filling that role sensibly and with priority, yet not like the house is on fire or from desperation. Okay. So fourth level, level 4, and many people I coach are in level 4 and never put down level 4. I am telling you, some of the highest profit margins for you as the rainmaker is right there in level 4. There are growing pains, there's messy middle, sometimes there's lack of coverage, there are headaches that come with it, and yet you still have so much control over client experience, you have so much control over the budget, you're still the full head of that listing division, so your profit is high. Yeah, there's just a lot of beauty in that 4th level. I've had coaches tell me that the model that I prefer for over a lot of the others is that small agent count, high per agent productivity. And any of you have heard me talk, you know, I follow that up with high profitability. Yes, I do favor that model. It's a beautiful model, especially when it's run well. So if you're at level 4 right now, yes, let's get you where you want to be, and yet relish where you are. If we make the most of that and you show up as a strong leader, it's a great place to be. So level 4 is leveraging the buyer side. So it'd be you and your coach, an admin, a TC, leads manager, and a showing assistant and or buyer's agent. And that varies per market. I will say that more often than not, buyer's agent is going to be more successful than showing assistant. I've actually had that discussion with several of you recently. We can go into more of that on your calls. So level 4. So back in the day, it kind of went from level 4 right to level 5. Gary, as he was working on MREA2, realized that there is a 4th level 2, and that's adding a lead buyer agent and separating the lead managers from the ISA, OSA. So it is, it's where you have one person, and this gives you that real leverage, because if you're a rainmaker that's actively running and the head of the listing division, when you can empower somebody else to be that lead buyer agent and be that go-to person for the other buyer agents on the team, then you are going to allow yourself to go back into more of that 80%. You know, that getting that, spending the bulk of your time where you're going to make the money. Okay. And building bigger picture relationships, lining up relationships with developers, creating more vendor referral situations, establishing a robust network of referring agents for in and outbound referrals. It frees you up to be able to do that and be less involved in the nitty-gritty of the buyer side of the business. Okay, so that's level 4 too. So 5th level, that is where you have, that's where you start to leverage the seller side. This is the part that, you know, can really, in my opinion, it's one of the most delicate times, and we want to handle that the right way. So leveraging the seller side, it's going to be you and your coach, an admin, a TC. This is where a lot of people add in that listing manager. Some people call it listing coordinator, a lead manager, an OSA, ISA. Some people call OSA, ISA, database nurturer, client concierge, you know, something like that. They're interacting with the database and cultivating and nurturing what's in there. Lead buyer agent, possibly showing assistance. And then 5th level 2, that's when you would actually add a listing agent. So the first biggest mistake we see is people hire buyer's agents before they have a strong admin in place. The second biggest mistake we see is adding on a listing agent prior to level 5-2. Okay. So if you have questions around this, please, let's discuss it on your coaching call, and let's look at it from different perspectives. Again, as I mentioned, typically with luxury, that listing manager will come on prior to level 5. You know, so we'll discuss that more as well. Okay. So this is where it starts getting really fun. So just so you know, profitability peaks at level 4 and 4.2. Profitability typically takes a small dip in level 5 and 5.2, partly because you release a little bit of that listing side business, which increases your cost of sale. It is a growing pain. You will grow through it, and as long as you hired talent, you're going to make it through those growing pains, and you're going to get back to actually exceed that profitability. In terms of gross dollars, you usually will not exceed profitability as a percentage of gross closed income based on level 4, but you will make more money overall. So you're still coming out with a higher income. Okay. And then level 6. So in the new MREA 2, they're calling this expansion. Please hear me clearly. That doesn't mean necessarily expanding out of your geographic market. The expansion could be with strategy and design. We actually increase your market share in your current market. So it's going deeper and capturing more market share in the same geographic area that you already are. The team that this is based on, going for the 1,000 sales, although they have spread somewhat into adjacent areas, they're not technically doing an expansion, which would require, you know, like going 2 hours from where they currently are. So you can expand going deep instead of going out. Okay. So 6th level, it's you and your coach, your director of operations, transaction coordinator, listing coordinator, director of sales, buyer's agents, a listing agent, possibly showing assistants, the director of lead generation, which would be the head of ISAs, OSAs, or that client care concierge. And then also a network referral agent. So that is where, remember we talked about how when you leverage some of the listing side, you get to start going bigger picture and setting up that network of inbound and outbound referrals and building that one-to-one, you actually know the people referral network for yourself. So level 6-2, another version of expansion. That's when you would actually hire a director of expansion. Now 6-2 does not apply for everyone. You can go right from level 6 to level 7 if you're staying in your same geographic market. So many people have started expansion. So 6-2, it doesn't mean you have to go through it. You can leapfrog it if you're staying in your core market. If you are going to expand, we highly, highly recommend that you hire someone who will be the designated spearhead of that project. Because if it's you, your business in your hub will suffer. Okay, so that's why 6-2 is in there. And then level 7, which I know not everyone aspires to, many people do aspire to. A few of you here on this call are part of a 7th level team. But at level 7, you would hire a CEO that is going to essentially replace you. You oftentimes, in this, people get, there's different versions of this. Many of you know the reason I left and came to MAPS is I like that we customize things here to the individual. So there's some level 7 owners that are very, very minimally involved. They will show up quarterly at a big sales meeting. They'll show up at the Christmas party or an awards banquet. They may do a one-on-one with someone that is really, exceeding, but they're minimally involved. There's a few that are not involved really at all. And the CEO does everything. They're all the FaceTime. But here's the fun part. There's some 7th level where you might decide that you have a small group of legacy past clients that you've helped multiple generations. You might decide you still want to work with them. All right, if you love it and you want to do it, great. You might want to run a meeting and a training session or a mastermind once a month. Great. We can customize that to you. And I mention that because sometimes there's a, to use Gary's word, a myth understanding. Makes me feel like Mike Tyson when I say that, myth understanding. That to be a true level 7, that you're not involved at all. And I just want to reassure you, you can build to level 7. I call it doing the fun stuff. You can decide, what do I want to do? What do I love? What am I super passionate about? Maybe you want to grow your downline, grow the downline of everyone on your team. Maybe you want to, I don't know, find other passive income, but it doesn't mean, all right, you get out, you're level 7 now. We don't want to hear you. Go, keep going, get in the car, drive. It's not like that. You're not thrown out. You decide what you want to do. One last thought on this. Are there times where a level 7 dips back down to a level 6 and then goes back to a level 7? Yes. Yes. I don't know if you all knew this. This might be shocking. Humans move, right? That's why we have our career in our industry. You may have your CEO, maybe they fall in love and get married and their new spouse gets a job offer they can't refuse across the country and they're leaving. Well, if that CEO steps out unexpectedly and you have not found the right talent to step in, yeah, you're probably going to step in. So you'll dip back down, assess it, reconfigure, and then you would go back to 7. Another time where level 7s tend to get more involved is, let's say that you've decided to become a mega agent office and have your own location, or your market center is going to spin off a business center that is closer to where you do your business. Well, you would probably be a little bit more involved in that process. and then still delegate things you don't want to do to everyone else. So is that a good breakdown? So one thing, and I will have to look at my slide because it looks like it got cut off. So on 7th, it says hire your CEO, and everything above this list with a CEO. And then it should say at this point, the CEO will typically have the primary coach. And I do coach 7th levels that still prefer to have a coach. But the critical coach is going to be for that CEO. Okay. So is this a good breakdown of the levels? Any questions about the levels? Any surprise here? Anything you weren't expecting? No? Going once, going twice. All right. We're going right into nitty gritty. All the stuff that no one likes when I bring it up on a coaching call, all in one place. How exciting. Okay. So here are additional notes about building a team, making it profitable, and creating success for other people that actually took their financial well-being, their self-perception, their success, and they chose you from all the options they had in front of them. And they placed that their whole life, they placed it in your hands because they believed you were going to be the leader that was going to make their dreams come true. Okay. A lot of times I feel like we forget that and we just lose sight of that. So let's dive in. These are in no particular order, by the way. So as you grow your team, it is critical that all of your key leadership positions should attend the major events, meaning family reunion, mega camp. Some of them even go to spring masterminds when it's in person. That one I think is, we'd have to play that by ear and see what's going on. But definitely family reunion and mega camp. If you are not having your key leadership positions go to those events, you're denying yourself referral business, you're decreasing your profitability and gross sales volume, and you are making your life harder because you're not taking advantage of the leverage for what the training that happens there and the power of the relationships they will make when they meet other people in their role across the country that are doing better than they're doing right now, or where they can improve their leadership skills by creating relationships with people where they are in a higher place than that person. You're making your life harder. I have major issues with that. Just earlier today, I had to have a frank conversation because a team that shall remain nameless, they were going to send just their director of sales and just their CEO. And we had it out. I'm like, really? For the sake of $3,000 at the most, that includes flight, hotel and registration and a per diem for food. You want to deny yourself, all of the opportunity. So if you're in a position where you already have some staff and this is something you've struggled with, then let's please talk about it. Now, when I say key leadership, so some coaches would argue with me on this. I don't necessarily feel like marketing coordinators or listing, I'm not really talking those roles. I'm talking more like if you've got a director of operations or a director of sales or a lead ISA or your key executive administrator, we need to talk. There's so much benefit for them to be there and it makes your life easier. Okay. Next one, this one, I need a bullhorn. Hire for a role you want to fill. Under no circumstance do you create a role to fit an individual. Let me give an example. This is what I'll hear on the call. So you know what? My niece is moving back here because she finished college and she doesn't really, I was just thinking, so maybe I could have her come in and I could create this position where she's going to do blah, blah, blah. So that you're taking an individual, usually that you like, or you're related to, or fill in the blank, past client or something like that. And you go, oh, well, I just really want them to be a part of my team. So you have no open positions or roles that you're hiring for. You're sitting there, and by coincidence, oh, little niece Jennifer, oh, what can we do and create the role for her? Please. If you care for me at all, please don't do that. I can't even tell you the frustration people face, the disappointment people face, relationships getting messed up, fortunes lost. I know some of you say that sounds dramatic. It is not dramatic, because a lot of times you'll create a role. A lot of times you'll overpay for what that role would be. The person is not a good fit, and yet they're making enough money to live. Then you fall into that expecting too much too soon, and then having too low of expectations later. And oh, they've been around for a long time, and years go by where production hasn't gone up, projects aren't finished, deadlines aren't met, and you're losing fortunes. So I should keep track, like in the month of January, how often that comes up on coaching calls. I am telling you, it's a lot. And you guys all have good intentions, but I'm just going to tell you, if it ever feels too easy, it probably is. And it probably is for a reason. Other side note, a lot of times when little niece Jennifer is moving, you skip parts of the interview process. Oh, I don't need a KPA. I know. I've known her since she was born. I used to know when her mother was having twins, I was the room mother for her in 3rd grade. I don't need to do a KPA. I don't need to do a life story interview. I've been with her for the life story. So you cut up references. Well, I know how she works. Please. But I wish I was making up all of this. I might be dramatizing it. This is all things I've heard. Okay. You're deluding yourself. If anything, when you're hiring someone who is in that mold, you damn well better interview at least 10 more people. Everyone looks good in a vacuum. When I hired Erin, I had already interviewed about 14 people. And then when I interviewed Erin and I saw her in comparison to the other people I had interviewed, she clearly stood out. I had it narrowed down to about 3, and she clearly stood out. And the KPA pushed it right over the top, right? So if you're hiring someone, everyone looks good in a vacuum when you're only comparing them against themselves. So just please, if you ever find yourself, so here's what you want to listen for in yourself. You know what, Bridget? I've assessed the workload of my marketing manager, and I've assessed the workload of my EA. I've noticed we don't have enough hours in the day or the week to complete all the projects we have. So I've decided we're going to hire a virtual assistant role to keep the expenses in line. And we're going to hire an assistant specifically for the marketing coordinator. And they're going to do this and this. That's what you want to say. You want to have a role in mind, and then you're going to cast the net, and you're going to interview, and then you will find candidates with an S. This isn't Mash's ham where they throw away the extra S for low salt. You want to find candidates, and you want to hire for a specific role. That makes sense to everybody. Everyone raise your hand. I state your name. Now understand, I create a position and a role, and then I find talent for it. And if by some fluke or coincidence, someone in my world is a great fit for that role, I will interview them, and I'll even ramp up the interview process to make sure they know that I'm hiring them because they're a good fit for the job, that it's not a pity hire or a convenience hire. So I'm setting them up for success. Okay. I'll stop now. It's very clear to all of us, myself included. I could go on about this longer, and yet I will stop. Okay. Gary Keller, if you've heard him speak once, I'm sure you've heard him say this. If he's talking about building a team, you want to hire slowly and you want to fire promptly. He actually puts it in a little bit different way. I like to say fire promptly. And we're going to discuss that more as we go through. As I mentioned earlier, we don't want to be rash. We're not rash. By the way, someone on this call has behaved rashly in the past before I really honed in with my coach to develop my leadership skills. You know, there have been people where I just was like, that's it, get out, you're gone. Hi D, you guys are not surprised. We don't need to talk about it any further. I don't do that anymore. So when I say fire promptly, and we're going to get into this more, have minimum standards for the agents on your team. Make them realistic for your marketplace. Make them realistic for the amount of training and guidance and leadership that you provide in your current state as a leader. We can assess, I assess this for everyone on their coaching calls based on their market, the average number of sales an agent typically does in their market, and we'll come up with a number. For the purpose of this example, I'm going to say 24. So decide in your business planning that for an agent to be on your team as a buyer's agent, they're going to sell a minimum of 24 homes per year. And even if they don't all close, they will have at least 24 offers accepted, knowing that some may fall out. We're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Oops, that deal fell apart because the financing, get out. We're not going to do that. We're going to have reason as we go through this, but we'll have a minimum standard. And what you're going to do with your EA or your director of sales or your lead buyer specialist, depending on where you are, is once a quarter, you're going to sit down and you're going to assess, are all of our buyer's agents on track with their rolling averages of the last 3 months to sell 24 homes this year? And if they're not, you're going to have a meeting with them, the lead, whomever the role is, will have a meeting with that buyer's agent that is a productive, constructive meeting that will show your concern for their lack of success at the moment. You will put together a performance improvement plan for 30 days. The focus is going to be on engagement and activities they can control. And at the end of those 30 days, if they're engaging at a B student level or above, you're going to keep them. If they're not engaging, you're going to graciously let them go. You're not going to allow someone to stay on your team for 9 months that's not selling. And by the way, again, I know that you all have good intentions. Even though I attract a lot of high Ds, I also attract a lot of high D Is or a lot of high Is. And a lot of the high Is, you think you're being nice. I hear stuff like, well, they fill in the blank with something that happened in their life. And oh, I don't want to rock their boat right now because they're taking care of so-and-so or they're this and that. That's not being nice. You're actually endorsing failure and financial stress under your name and under your watch. You're literally choosing under the guise of, I want to be nice, to cause incredible financial stress, allow someone to see themselves as a failure, to buy into their, I'll call it fairy tale. You guys know there's another word that starts with B and ends with T, but you're buying into their story they're telling you. And they're not, most of them are not dumb. They know that they're selling you something and you're not confronting them on it. And then you're just allowing them to live in that shell of disingenuous reality. It is not nice. You're not being nice if you keep someone on your team that's an agent that isn't selling houses. If you struggle with this, please discuss it with me. There are several of you that I plan on having this conversation with as I've been assessing. We're getting close to the end of the year and I'm looking at what certain agents have done on the team. I'm going to encourage all of you to change your perspective on this. Everyone has things happen in their life. If they were the assistant manager at Bank of America on the corner down from your office, they wouldn't be able to not perform or not show up, or, oh, I just couldn't do it today. Oh, I can't get on Zoom because I just, they'd be fired from Bank of America like that day and possibly be in legal trouble. You are running a business. You're not an adult daycare, and you're not being nice if you allow and endorse failure under your name. So I'm going to encourage all of you, let's all look at this. And the next point, do you want to be a nice leader that allows people to flounder and fail? Or do you want to be a leader that creates massive success through and for others? So you guys are going to be like, why did I get on this call? All right. So, but this is all part of the organizational chart. And this is all part of, you guys have all heard me reference people that have made really big jumps from, say, 81 deals to 400, or that's with a large team, 70 deals to 166 with a small hyper agent productivity. Guess what most of it came from? Mindset, number 1, affirmations, number 2, and all of this that we're talking about, number 3. You all think it's leads. You all think that it's, is some magic bullet or some discovering some business, or no, it's all this stuff we're talking about right here. All right, so additional notes continued. Have regular meetings at the interval you decide. Create a backup plan so that the meeting happens whether you're there or not. I have that in there for emergency purposes. So I don't want you to abuse that, but have a backup plan. The meeting should happen whether you're there or not. If a meeting for your team or your staff only happens if you're there, you are overly involved and you're not allowing people to own their role, and you're not delegating effectively. That is a very customizable thing. So we'll go into that based on your own need. I have some clients with very small teams, and if they're not going to be there, a title rep shows up. I have other teams where the lead EA is strong enough that they run the meeting if you can't be there for any reason. But that's a good indicator of, is your team healthy or not healthy? If you're not there, that means a meeting doesn't happen, something's wrong, and we need to fix it. Honor one-on-ones with staff members. So I'm talking particularly about your staff hires, not so much your agents. I mean, let's face it, most of us that are in coaching and growing big real estate teams, or building high-end luxury business or commercial, whatever we're doing, anyone who's watching this video, you're not run-of-the-mill. If you were run-of-the-mill, you wouldn't find this engaging and you wouldn't be listening. So most of us are mavericks. We're very independent contractor. We, in our mind, we could have something planned for ourselves, and then we get a call that we could go on a $2.1 million listing. Well, guess what? We usually reschedule it and go, and we don't attach anything to it. The personality types, the natural communication style and environment that most people that are attracted to a staff position, they do not think the way that we do. To them, you have a one-on-one for a 6-month review with your executive administrator set for Friday at 10 o'clock. And you slip back into realtor behavior, and all of a sudden it's like 9:15 and some other option comes up for you and you decide it's more important. I've even a listing appointment, you're like, oh, it's a listing appointment. They'll understand. And you call that staff person, you're like, oh my God, I know we were supposed to meet at 10, but this opportunity for a listing appointment came up. So we're gonna have to move it. And later today, I already had things planned with lunch with the past client from Primrose. So we'll just do it next week. But believe me, agents do this stuff. They will look at you, they will smile, they'll say, oh, that's great, go get the listing. Oh yeah, no, I understand, it's fine. Guess what? It's not fine. And they're not lying to you. It's part of the makeup and the personality type that makes them great at their job. But every time you do that, you have eroded a little bit of trust. They feel as if they're not as valuable to you as all the other things you're prioritizing. They will file it away in their high C or their high S brain in the little file cabinet in the back of, oh, I'm not important. Remember what Diana Kokoska used to tell us all the time? People walk through the world with MMFI on their forehead. MMFI, make me feel important. And for them, they perceive it in a different way. I would even say for most of you, with the level of where your team is right now, this is critical. And if you hear nothing else I say, if you set an appointment with one of your staff people, particularly when it's about them, so to do a cash talk or a 6-month review or an annual review, or to hear their ideas about a campaign or a way they think the business would grow. First off, schedule it when you know you have pretty good control over your calendar. You know what, Bev, that's a great idea. Let's meet Thursday at 7:15. Can you come in early? Most of you have pretty good control over your early morning. So set yourself up for success with this and challenge yourself. Do not dismiss them. All of us as agents, I mean, you guys are pretty good about keeping your coaching call schedule. On occasion, you will have that big listing opportunity come up, or, oh my goodness, those buyers from Toronto came a day early and I'll get a somewhat late cancellation. Well, guess what? I'm a maverick like you. I get it. And you guys know. So I say to you, get that listing. Oh my God, get them under contract. You have good places to show them. Because my brain works like yours, I'm not annoyed. I'm thinking, oh, they're going to get it. That's going to put them one more. We only have a gap of 8, right? So that's how our brains work. Please respect and honor. It is not how their brains work. You all have probably seen people where an agent may have had a long-term staff person, someone that was a key part of their team, and they leave abruptly. And it's not because they got married and their spouse got an incredible job offer. It's not because they're going to move back to Ohio to take care of their mom. They actually leave and go join another team 2 offices down, or, usually it's that erosion that took place where they were not feeling valued. Okay. So next, soapbox. We should have just called this the Soapbox Chronicles. Put your phones away. Stop it. Stop it. Put your phones away. Put them on Do Not Disturb. When you are meeting with staff and when you're meeting with your team, put your phone on Do Not Disturb or put them away. Stop it. Be present with who you are with. And I did put nearly all times. So I'll give you an example for myself. So typically on coaching calls, and even right now, my phone's on Do Not Disturb. I am one of those people. It's annoying to get a hold of me. However, it's because when I'm with you, I'm focused on you, right? So I'm a little bit different circumstance. I know that you guys are in sales. Here's the reality. Usually 20 minutes, 45 minutes is not going to matter, especially if you share your schedule with people. And a lot of times people want to text you and they'll even say things like, I know you're in a meeting, call me back when you're done, blah, blah, blah. So put your phones away, dude, cut it out. And that's for home and for work. Let's make that one of our goals for 2022, increase our business, decrease phones being used at inappropriate times. The same thing, that will erode things away. You're sitting there and your admin has worked on a database refinement to polish the database with additional tags and how it would tie in with 42 Touch. And they're sharing all of this with you and they've put hours of work into it. And then you're like, oh, hold on. Can you hold on one second? I'm just going to call them back real quick. You know what? Can we wrap this up? Because I'm going to go. Come on now. Cut it out. I know most of the people I coach have already had breakthroughs in that area, but I also know this video is going to be out with people that aren't in coaching. Stop it. Okay. So you're not that important. So just cut it out. Work on your leadership skills. That you can do, maybe you could attend coaching skills camp next year. Maybe we could come up with a few books that are incredible that you could make part of your growth plan next year. Add in affirmations about being a business owner and a leader and how you touch people's lives and you value the people trust you enough. They put their whole security in life in your hands because they saw you as that leader that would make it happen. So let's work on leadership skills from a variety of areas. Another one agents slip out of quickly is holding regular review periods with everyone on the team, agents and staff. Now you, as you go up through the levels, you may not be doing the regular reviews yourself. Make sure that they're happening and that the people you've delegated that to treat it seriously and it happens regularly. The more you treat your real estate business like a real business, which it is, you're going to have greater retention. You're going to have more loyalty. You're going to have higher engagement. People are going to feel valued. And when they feel valued, they're going to see the value of being in your world. Hold 6-month reviews if you're able to keep that schedule. If you don't trust yourself to keep that schedule, at least have annual reviews and make the reviews real. We can work on that in your coaching calls. Offer real compliments and praise. Offer actual constructive criticism with possible solutions. Allow them to add how they believe they could have a breakthrough in that area or if they need help. But make it real. Okay, this is not, you're not just a realtor. You're running a business. Okay, so just again, I said just remember that you're a business owner. Any questions about any of those? So these we're going to go through a little bit more quickly. Just allow and expect people to do their job. It's too often that I see agents going, well, I'm going to have them do the 42 touch after I learn all about the 42 touch, and then I do this, and then let them take some leadership, do some research, and present back to you so that then you can question it and you can give your feedback. Can you see how that's going to allow them to feel powerful and feel like they contribute? So it's very nuanced. We do need to factor in length of time they've been with you and their experience. So I'm not saying to just cut ties and say, all right, all of y'all do everything and, come back to me. I'm not saying that, but all of us can improve that, myself included. Bridget? Do not attempt to train people at something you're not good at doing. Do not attempt to train people at something you're not good at doing. Very few mega agents are good at administrative work. And so often I hear people say, well, I'm not going to lead generate next week because I'm training the EA. And I'm like, what the hell are you training them on? You don't even know how to log into Connect. I barely do either. I'm not criticizing anyone. It's like, are you going to train someone how to bake a wedding cake when you can't fry an egg? I mean, so just cut it out. There's leverage, there's opportunity, there's, not all coaching is coaching that's long-term. You could hire an interim person to coach for 90 days and do there's mega buyer agent training. There's ISA training. That's a set time period, but come on guys, let's all acknowledge what we're good at and what we're not. Let's not train people at what we're not good at. Okay. So that's one. This one we've already talked about. So have minimum standards and measurable targets for your staff and your agents. Making sure you factor in with staff the amount of time it takes to achieve goals. You've got to have a project management style approach when it comes to the projects that you give staff people. As the mavericks that we are, we're like, all right, take that 3,500 person database, get it fully tagged, do this and that, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, can you do that by Monday? And it's Friday at noon. No, you just gave them, 48 hours of work to be done well at the level we'd expect. Make sure that with staff, you're looking at it as a project manager. You need to get the information from them because agents are notorious. We shorten the amount of time that we think things will take unless it's something that we're doing. And when we're doing it, we tend to give ourselves more time. Nothing wrong with that. It's just a fluke of how a lot of agents' brains work. So project manager approach with staff, with agents, having that running 3 months target. That's the minimum standard to be on the team. And, go from there and have a process in place for when those things are missed that is constructive. And if it's someone that you want to stay on the team, is going to reduce lower defenses and have them understand that you're all shooting for growth and success. Okay. Make your meetings something no one wants to miss. Have regular meetings and make them great. Time block 2 days before so you can prepare. You can find a little video you're going to share at the beginning of the meeting. Think about the introspective question that you're going to ask everybody and have them write their answer and share it. Go over the training element that you're going to cover and make sure most of my clients right now, we have the next 18 to 24 weeks of sales meetings. The topics for training are already laid out. If you and I haven't done that together, let's do it soon and we'll customize it to you. But make your meetings powerful. Don't make them today, they're talking to their mom before work. I got to do that meeting today. Yep, I know. No, yeah, I'm going to have coffee. I know. I thought about recording a video of myself nodding to put as my screensaver so I could do something. Make your meetings worthwhile. Okay. Lead generate together. Lead generate together. Lead generate together. That is one of the biggest culture builders. It allows agents to model how you talk, how you carry yourself. It allows you to be that active, engaged leader that is being a role model for everyone around you. Lead generate together. I don't care if it's 1 hour a week. One of the 7th level teams that I have the privilege of coaching, they call it care calls. And I think it might be 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And it's on the schedule. They all get together. If someone can't be there in person, they do it on Zoom and they all lead generate during care call time. And that has become a bonding time for all of them while still growing the business. If you're not lead generating together, please talk to me about it. You're missing out on an opportunity to attract talent, have more business, and keep people longer. Last 2, reward longevity. No one likes to be at a job for a long time and never get a raise. Again, because of our maverick mindset, we know, I want a raise, I'll go sell more houses. It's a little different with staff. So reward longevity. We could take this time in the next 2 months to look at your overall plans with both agents and staff. And let's see if, someone who's been with you for 3 years, is there some reward in place for that happening? And make it fun. Have a team mascot. One of my absolute favorites. I love when you get a team mascot that ties to your area. So Lena Creva Homes International in Boston, they got a Patriot Barbie, one of those gorgeous Patriot Barbies from like the late 90s. She found it on eBay. And the Patriot Barbie, I don't know if you guys remember it, but full, incredible late 90s Barbie outfit. What they do is that's the team mascot. And when someone does something great on the team, they are given the Patriot Barbie and they are to take care of the Patriot Barbie until they decide to give it to somebody else. So Patriot Barbie's at every team meeting. She's at every calling day. She's at every event. And it just adds that element of fun that will keep your team engaged. So that is all the additional notes. Do we have any questions about any of that?
Bridget, I have
Yes.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
With sharing our calendar, does it get shared with every member of the team or only the key positions that report directly to us?
I've seen it all different ways. So I have a lot of clients that literally color code and time block their calendar. It actively says in the morning, looking for buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers, because they even share it with their clients. And it's posted on the door to their office. And there is another page right on their office door with a couple of spots where someone, if they wanted to meet with them that day, oh, I'm lead generating, but you can pick one of those times and come see me later. The whole, you can pay to talk to me now or talk to me for free later. So like the openness of the schedule, especially if you code your blocks in a way that's consumer friendly, then you can share your calendar with anyone. Obviously, your key staff, they're going to need to know the real deal of your calendar. They need to know if you're having surgery. They need to know if you're having a root canal, because they need to know that they can't just pop an appointment right after that, right? The rest of the team, you could use more blanket terms, but it's kind of like goal setting. The more you share your goals openly, the more likely they are to happen. When you have your calendar and you believe in it and you share it with people, you're more likely to follow it because more people know what you're supposed to be doing. So we can talk about that on a case-by-case basis, but the more open you make it, the better.
Okay. And my second question is if a team member misses a meeting, is the meeting recorded? Does a follow-up get sent out to everybody, or if you miss it, too bad for you?
In my dream world, your executive administrator would be taking notes and minutes of every meeting. And if somebody misses the meeting, they would get the minutes.
Okay.
That's my dream scenario. Now that we all are so comfortable with virtual, if someone cannot make it and yet they'd be willing to jump in on Zoom, I would max headroom that thing and have a computer on the table with the screen open and they're on there virtually. I think that's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
And then of course you want to keep an eye on people missing too many meetings and the fairy tales that they tell you about why they're missing it. Then we want to look at, is your meeting compelling enough that people want to come, and are you providing value? If you are providing value from what we can see, that's one of the signs where we want to start keeping an eye on that person and decide if they're going to remain a member of the team.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions about any of these? All right. The rest of this is going to move quickly. I know y'all are like, well, thank goodness. So some ideas on pay structures. Many agents will do a straight commission. Usually that's option 2. And we're talking about listing specialists here. So somewhere between 40 and 50% per listing deal that they work, particularly, maybe 40% if it was a team generated lead, possibly 50% if it was a lead that they secured either through lead generation of unmets or from their own tagged sphere of influence. What a lot of people do with listing specialist option 1 is you'll pay a base salary and then you will give 35% commission on the transactions that they work. And the base would be something that varies per market. I like using payscale.com to compare, what are people making? One of the benefits of having the listing specialist with a base plus a lower commission than you would pay on a full commission is that then they can be a W-2 employee. And that gives you the ability to say, you work these hours, you make these many calls, you use this dialer, and it removes that independent contractor element where they're free to do whatever they want to do. So, because some people have said to me, why on earth would anyone do that? That's one of the reasons why. There's tax benefits for you as an owner, having the salary. It can be more profitable. Anyway, I just wanted you to know with listing specialists, we want to talk about it a little bit more. In addition, there's a higher cost per transaction associated with listings. So we want to keep an eye on that. The last thing I want to have happen is for you to release the listing division and the profitability is not creating a win-win. And you're in a position where your expenses per listing taken and overhead equal what comes in. So there's no profit, there's no meat on the bone. We want to make sure that's not happening. Buyer's agents are, my recommendation, as well as MAP's recommendation, is they are straight commission. If there is not a hunger and a drive and a desire to achieve with buyer's agents, they're probably not going to hit the mark. So somewhere between 35 and 50% is ideal. The majority of people that I coach are in highly competitive markets. and most of them are at or near the 50%. I do have some, they're at 45. And then a really cool scenario is to reward the behavior you want to see. So remember, we want everything to be tracked on units. So one thing you can do is you can say, all right, well, for deals, 1 through 12, 45, 55. Deals 13 through 24, 50, 50. Any deal above 24, 55, 45. You can do something like that. So you're rewarding the behavior. I also have several teams, and this is the last salary or commission example I'm going to give right now, because it is so specialized. But a lot of people are moving to, especially in competitive markets, they are heading to 50-50 for deals, say 1 through 6, 55, 45 deals 7 through 12, 60-40 deals 13 through 18, 65-35 for 19 through 24, 25 and above, 70-30, and it resets every year. The cool thing is when it resets, it doesn't go all the way back down to 50. It goes to, it goes to that next step up. So when someone's been with you for 5 years, they're on a higher split. So that's something you could consider, but we would really have to look at the overall performance of the team, the budget of the team. At no time do we ever want to put the ownership of a team at the point where it's not a win-win. Okay, so we'll jump from that. In the slides, you're going to see some options for some of the other roles. So now I just want to jump real quick to the example today. So we're going to do a possible organization chart for selling 1,000 homes. And these are all the assumptions, because I realized in the other meetings I did like this, I didn't have all the assumptions laid out. So the assumption is this is a 7th level team. This is an example for one location that's going for deep market share in their existing geographic area. The owner is out of production, but still shows up in a leadership role, at some of the meetings and some of the events, things like that. There is a CEO in place that's on salary with a bonus based on hitting benchmarks and production. There are 9 salaried positions, not including the owner. And there are 7 per deal positions, which include the TCs, the OSAs, and ISAs, where they don't get a salary or an hourly. They're only getting a small percentage for the appointments that they set or the transactions they close. So I felt like that was enough of the assumptions. So do you guys all have an idea of what this team looks like? Okay. So here is the org chart based on what we just described. So here's the rainmaker up here. As you can see, there's a CEO that reports directly to the rainmaker. Now notice, does the line for director of lead gen or EA or director of sales go straight to the U? No, one person reports to you. That is critical. It's not to say that the other people wouldn't ever speak to you, but in terms of a formal flow of communication, that flow of communication is everyone else to the CEO reporting to you on a regular basis at the interval that you determine. The CEO would have their own executive administrator. The people reporting to the CEO would be the director of lead generation, the director of admin, and the director of sales. So those 3 directors and the executive administrator for the CEO would be the flow of the communication to the CEO. The director of lead generation would have, for this model to hit 1,000 sales, would have 3 outbound sales agents. So those are people lead generating unmets, digging in on expireds, for sale by owners, just listed, just sold, open house opportunity, in neighborhoods with low inventory. So it's outbound. They're calling out. There would be at least 2 people that would be inbound sales agents. And so that would be like, say you did a dropped voicemail on expireds and the calls came in, or you've got home light running at a high level and the leads are coming in. Your YouTube channel is creating several buyer leads per day. The ISA would handle those inbound. If you happen to still pay for any platform, third-party platform that provides leads, that ISA or client care concierge would handle that first. Cultivate, nurture, round robin to the team. So that's like that division. The director of administrative staff would be over the lead transaction coordinator. For this number of deals, we calculated it out that with the right systems in place, there could be the lead transaction coordinator with 2 full-time transaction coordinators. And we set it up a couple of different ways. We're still refining, where each of the TCs will have certain team members they're assigned to, and obviously adding on an additional transaction coordinator if needed. I've had some people that I reviewed this with say, I don't believe 3 people could handle that volume of business. You have to remember, it's all for the same team. It's all for the same agents. The processes should be in place and the software should be in place. So is it possible that you might need an additional one? Yes, the way that we worked it out for this particular team and the tools in place and what's expected of the agents, we felt that we could do it with 3. The leads manager would have, the listing manager would have 2 listing coordinators. Now, by the way, in this model, the lead transaction coordinator and the lead listing manager are both still hands-on doing work, and they have their own assigned agents. With the listings, it's assigned areas and price points. And part of the reason they're still hands-on is because this is massive growth. So we don't want to overhire and overpay prior to the growth coming. So they're going to be doing it hands-on. And by the end of the year, I imagine that will be fleshed out further. And then the director of sales has there's a lead buyer's agent with 11 buyer agents underneath them. There is a lead listing agent with 12 listing agents total. So can you see how, even just describing that to you, can you see how actually sketching it out and actually thinking about each person, what they'll contribute, who's doing what, who's talking to whom, that can illustrate so many things in your business, and it makes you think about it in a different way. Other than just saying, I'll scale it down. A lot of you are shooting to do 100 for the first time. Instead of just saying, all right, we're going to sell 100 houses. Let's go. Can you see how if you break it down like this, it'll make you really look. Like when we put this together, we really looked at what is the per agent productivity in the buyer division that we expect and what's realistic. Same for listing. That's how we came up with 11 and 12. These are not numbers that we pulled out of the air. This was thorough discussion about who could do what and what would need to be in place. So any questions about this in particular? Okay, who wants action items? Yay. All right, so you're going to create a graphic of your current org chart. And by the way, it doesn't have to look pretty like that. I don't care if you take a piece of paper, draw it, have legible writing, and scan it to me. That's perfectly fine. So create the graphic of your current org chart. Then I want you to create the org chart based on your business plan and goal for 2020. For real extra credit, create an org chart for 2027. So just really think big and think out in the future. What do you want it to look like in 2027? And then rank yourself as a leader. Go through those additional notes, the 3 pages of additional notes where you thought I'd have a coronary. Rank yourself as a leader on all of those additional note items. And then send any of that work you do to me prior to your next call. Now, if we're already working on another project, still send it to me and we'll decide when we'll discuss it. But, get into action, sketch this out and send it to me. And if you have trouble figuring it out, let me know so we can talk through it together. So I like to end every call with, if you have some questions, ask them. But I also like to end every call with 3 ahas from what we just discussed. So can you all share with me what is something that you're taking away from this that A, you didn't know before, you're changing your perspective, or it's an action you're going to take?
I have one, Bridget.
Okay.
When you were saying to hire for the position and to go through all of the processes, including the KPA, the first person I hired, when the TL reviewed the KPA, she told me I just hired my boss, and you can chuckle because you know who that is. And
Yes, I do.
6 years later, it hasn't changed. And
Correct.
so,
Yes,
again, you don't change the people to fit into the roles either. That doesn't work.
that's right. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So thank you. That's good. That's one. We need 2 more. I know we went a little over, so let's get 2 more promptly, and then we'll close up. I apologize. I get very passionate about it. Okay, so Nina put in the chat, people don't leave companies, they leave leaders. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is true. All right, guys, give me 1 more, either in the chat or unmute and share it. Something you're taking away from our time together today. I'm the 4th out of 5 children in an Irish Catholic family. I can play the silent staring game longer than any of you. No one learned anything else out of all of that.
I have one more.
Okay, we will double dip with Margaret. Yes,
The 5-year plan to do your org chart for down the road, because I
Right.
think it makes you more cognitive of the positions you need to fill.
absolutely. Yes. Well, I like that. Aaron says this is all new to me, so I learned all of it. Very good. All right, so we got our 3. We're gonna wrap up. You've got the slides. I'll also post this video. Feel free. I've had several team leaders that really loved hearing this information. This is a video and a slide that you could actually just share with your TL and be like, hey, this is kind of a cool breakdown of org chart from different perspectives from my MAPS coach. Share it with them. I'm more than happy if you do that. It is, as I mentioned, in my opinion, least utilized out of the 4 business models in my experience as well. Other coaches share that too. Jump in, make the charts, and let's rock your world by really looking at yourself as a leader and the organization you're building. Thank you so much for coming today, and I will talk to you guys next week.